Okay,
Hey, sorry about that.
that's okay. I was a bit worried that we wouldn't connect.
Well, it's nice to meet you. You're out on the road?
Ah, yeah, yeah. Oh, me, yes, yes. I get. It's funny because I get better reception here than my own
Oh,
house, which is weird. I'm at 7-Eleven. Not.
oh, nice.
I got my $1.50 7-Eleven coffee. It's good.
There you go. Did you ever get your Kiss Collector Slurpee cups?
No, I know. I don't know. I don't believe we ever had that in Australia.
Oh, man. Okay.
Oh, but that actually is my favorite Kiss live album back there. Three.
Oh, yes.
That is
Mr. Bruce
my favorite.
Kulick.
I'm gonna
That's how we.
say that is my favorite version of Creatures of the Night. 100%. Like his solo to me of Creatures of the Night is the best. Like that's me. Like
Uh,
Bruce Kulick.
it's funny because it's not really a solo, but I love the way he plays "Watching You" and just that scratch
Uh,
that he does. It just
yeah,
brings a new
yeah,
little level of flavor to.
yeah. He brought his own sort of flair into playing Ace's songs, didn't he?
He did. It was awesome because they actually let him do that, which was nice. It was
Yeah,
Bruce's version, a salute to Ace, but he got to play it the way he wanted to, which is nice.
yeah. He had a bit of freedom with that. Like, Vinnie Vincent didn't last that long, but I don't know. Maybe he was a bit too technical, too, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Too advanced. He's an amazing guitarist, though. You got to hand it to him.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's what
Yeah.
this forum's all about, right? So, like, Ace Frehley is amazing, and he's 70s Kiss, and I
Mm,
think Bruce is 80s Kiss.
yes.
I don't think Ace could have kept up with all the players in the 80s in a respectful way.
Mm,
I
mm.
appreciate what he did, but Bruce really brought it.
Yeah, I mean, you know, um, Ace is the riff master. I have to say, he's the one who has like the classic riffs. I
Yeah.
mean, Detroit Rock City. Oh, I've never got to see Kiss live. Unfortunately,
Oh,
I wish I could have. I've seen a lot of bands, and not Kiss, surprisingly, and they did have a farewell tour here last year. They came here. I didn't go. Anyway, I'm not. I wish I would have gone if it was Bruce Kulick or Ace or something like that. But I don't know. I'm biased. I'm not a huge fan of Thayer, but that's just me. That's my own opinion. But
yeah.
you
Well,
know,
I think they put him back in the Ace box too much, where they could have let him play his way a little more. He finally got to, I think, in the end, but
yeah. I mean, he got one album in there with them.
yeah, he got a couple. He
Couple albums.
started to get his
Oh
own.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's what interested you was the fact of the Bruce Kulick connection.
Yes, with
So,
you. Yes, I mean that's why I've got you here. I appreciate your music. I've heard your stuff on Spotify. Your four songs you got up there. But I'm just really intrigued by your story. I want to know more. Obviously, you got a new hard rock, blues rock sort of album coming out
sure.
very soon.
Yeah.
But you've got some legendary guests like you know um, Bruce Kulick and Eddie Ojeda. I mean, from Twisted Sister, obviously, and some other great guitarists who I haven't personally heard of, but I've done my research and seen them. They're all great. I mean, you got some real talent on this album, so I want to know more about this. Like, um, but first up, tell us about you. Like, what's your story? What's your guitar journey? Like your influences, from the start to up until now. Can you give
Sure.
us a
Sure.
rundown?
Yeah. I mean, stop me anytime because I have the gift of gab. So, but
Well, we got
no,
right.
I started at a young age. My first, I discovered an Elvis album. My parents had split up, and I was at my dad's place, and he had an Elvis record, and Hound Dog was on it, and I thought that was really cool. And then as a kid, just probably around the same time, which is probably around 76, I was 6 years old, and Band on the Run from Paul McCartney and the Wings came out. That was my favorite song. But it wasn't until I actually saw a Kiss poster in a store, and my sisters gave me a bad time. And I just was intrigued, like, what in the world am I looking at? And they're like, oh, you're too scared. You can't, you can't get that poster. Well, my mom got it for me. And to be honest, I couldn't look at it before I would jump into bed because it did kind of scare me. But my sister bought me the Kiss Alive album. And as a little kid, I was probably 8 or 9 at this time. As a little kid, I didn't understand how albums worked, especially a double album. The only record I had at that point was Captain Kangaroo, if you've ever heard of him in the way back when. But anyway, so I put on side 4. And if you know the album version, side 4 starts off with this flanger. I didn't know a flanger then, but it was a flange effect from Ace Frehley, and it literally sounded like a jet taking off. And then it kicked into rock bottom. And I dropped the needle back and forth on that thing so many times, I didn't even listen to the rest of the record for probably a week or two. And that's when I was really infatuated with guitar and bands. So it really started for me, like the real heavy interest became, through Kiss. And then not long after that, Van Halen came out, and I started hearing people play Van Halen 1 and Eruption. It's like, what in the world is this? And I just dove further and further into rock world. And I have an appreciation for guitar, especially. I don't play guitar on my own record because the players I have are way better. And it's a better collaboration when you actually have people that understand the instrument way more than myself. So I was totally fine with that. They actually brought these songs up several notches from where it would have been. So, but I'm just an enthusiast. I'm a fan, and so this project is by a fan for the fans.
So just to let everyone know, so it's your band, Saints Crossing.
Yep.
And you're the lead singer, right?
Yes. So it's ironic. So what happened is the pandemic shut everything down, and I'd always wanted to record songs that had been in my head since the 80s. The first song that I wrote, actually Eddie from Twisted Sister plays on, called Another Day, and I wrote that in 1984, but just now recorded it for this record. So I have songs from 40 years ago till written while I was recording the album, and I didn't have a band. So I just pulled one together, and I actually reached out to Bruce. I did a project. So I've been obviously a Kiss fan because I keep bringing them up. I started a company years ago, about 15 years ago or so, and we did videos on how to play guitar was the main focus. And we wanted to have the instructors be the person that performed the songs live. And so we went to the NAMM show, if you've ever heard of that, down in LA. It's a big music convention. And I was lucky enough to meet Bob and Bruce Kulick and told them the idea. And so I actually put a DVD out called Kiss Forever. And it's Bob showing how he played the solos 5 songs, and then Bruce showing 5 songs. And it's through those connections that is how I got the people that are on the record today. And, we just got along in the studio working together on some fun projects like that. And that's kind of how it grew. And finally, I run my own business. I have a project management business, and that takes up a lot of time. So I don't have time for a band, but that doesn't mean you have to give up your dreams, right? So I actually called Bruce, gosh, this is about 3 years ago. And I was really nervous to contact him. And out of the blue, he hadn't heard from me in a while. And I'm just like, hey, I've always wanted to record some songs, but I need help like laying down demos. And he was quick to bring me back to earth, so to speak, and say, man, you're talking to me way too soon if you don't even have anything recorded. So he introduced me to Bobby Ferrari, who's produced a lot of amazing acts, including Dee Snider. And just I could go on a whole list with what Bobby Ferrari's been a part of. And he said, call Bobby up. If he likes what he hears and he thinks there's something there, he'll make him great. And that's essentially what happened.
Wow, that's what a story. I mean, you know, and going back just quickly about, you know, how you got into music to start off with, you know, with Wings. And me, I was born in '85, so, you know, but I had all my parents' vinyls, you know, so I grew up listening to Wings and Paul McCartney. You know, I don't know if you ever had he had a greatest hits.
Yeah.
It was great. It was like black and white, and he's in the front.
Right.
I don't know if you know Paul McCartney's greatest hits. So he had like all the Wings stuff in his own song. But my favorite Wings song is Coming Up. That's my favorite Wings song. I love that. It's just so. It's just I don't know. It's just such a fun song. But I've always loved that. But Kiss, the Kiss stuff. I mean, I obviously my dad had Kiss vinyls. You know, I think he had, was it Love Gun? I think it was Love Gun. Album, and so that was that's the only one real one I remember. He was more like Dio and Iron Maiden and Def Leppard and all that. But I had to do a lot of my own sort of research and then I just so happens that in my school I had a whole bunch of friends who loved Kiss, so I got to know about Kiss. But anyway, that's me. But your story, that is fascinating. So you got in touch. This just shows hustle, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like determination to, like you said, not give up on your dream. And that's what you did. And obviously the situational things happen where you're able to meet Bob and Bruce Kulick, right? And then, but you made it happen. Like you got to know them, and now you've recorded with them, and he's playing solos. And did you get in touch with Eddie Ojeda through Bruce?
Well, it all came from the NAMM show, just meeting a few people, and some of the nicest people I worked with is, of course, who I reached back out to. And Eddie was he's a great guy. He has no like rock star delusions, so to speak. He's just a really down to earth guy. And again, I hadn't talked to him for several years, but I reached out and he's like, man, I'd love to hear what you're doing. You know, you're one of the good guys. And I took that to heart, you know, because what's fun for me anyway, and my buddy Tony, who plays on the album, he was part of the instructional DVD series called Icons of Rock that we put out. We were fans first and foremost, but we just really got along with people, and we got to sort of see behind the scenes, so to speak, some controversial conversations and whatnot. And we never shared that publicly, you know, that there's nothing too crazy, but just, I guess building that trust and not trying to maybe capitalize on, you know, a little sound bite or something. And I think once you have that kind of rapport with people, they're more eager to work with you on other things.
Yeah, it's definitely an attitude thing, isn't it? And obviously having the same passion, really, and be able to relate on that level. Like us, we've never met each other before. You know, we've just spoken for the first time, but it's just I don't know. It's just we just have that same sort of wavelength. I believe as not just us, but many other guitarists would be exactly the same. Like if you can get what I'm saying there.
Sure.
But that's just fascinating. Can you tell us also about the other amazing guitarists that are also on your upcoming album for Saints Crossing?
Yeah. So when I talked to Bobby Ferrari, he got it. He understood like where I was headed, and a lot of people, producers and songwriters and stuff, they get a lot of like pop music or, you know, just it's not a whole lot of new rock and roll projects that come their way. And I think that that was part of what really spoke to a lot of these guys. And so Bobby Ferrari said, you know, Christian Brady he was with Hellyeah, which was a band with Vinnie Paul after Dimebag Darrell and Damage Plan. Dimebag died. Vinnie created Hellyeah, and Christian was one of their guitar players later on, like I think the last couple albums. Solid, amazing player and super great guy as well. So he took some of the demos, and then what he did with them, he took them again to a whole nother level. So I heard that back. It was like, wow, this is amazing. And it was just rhythm guitar, but he's such a solid player. So he plays rhythm guitar on all 13 tracks. And then he plays a lot of lead as well. But because it's like a passion project, I wanted to reach out to some of my favorite people, Bruce and Eddie, of course. And then Christian, we got along very well. And he you know, if people want to listen to this album, if they appreciate lead guitar, and if you haven't heard of Christian Brady, I think you're going to just love it. He's amazing. And he plays in a lot of different projects throughout Vegas and whatnot. Anyway, so that's a little bit about Christian. And I would recommend everyone, you know, if you go to Saints Crossing, you can follow, or I think that you've collaborated as well. So if you follow their Instagrams and their links, you just discover more and more about who these players are, where they've come from. And then Tony Williams is a great friend of mine. We actually met through KISS. We met KISS. I met KISS for the first time for a KISS Alive 3 appearance thing they were doing. And Tony was there as well. He's played in and out of bands throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. He's currently in a King Diamond tribute band, which is pretty awesome. So we've known each other and had that lead guitar connection for many, many years. And he's a top-notch player as well. So he, of course, is on it, on a few tracks. And then my son, Gavin Patrick, he got into playing guitar on his own as a teenager. It was kind of fun because we were on the road at the time. My wife and I were on the road, and Gavin was calling me up. Hey, have you ever heard of Chris Holmes? Or just naming Adrian Vandenberg, all these guitar players from these amazing 80s bands. I'm like, yeah, go look at my, you know, the CD collection I have and pull out that Wasp album or whatever. And so he kind of rekindled the fire that I had when I was his age. So that it was kind of a full circle moment. And Gavin actually wrote the music on a song called Dreams and Reality and plays lead on that. He also plays some lead licks on a few other tracks, one with Christian, one with Eddie. So that's pretty cool. It's nice to be able to kind of share that experience with him. He helped inspire me to get this whole thing going. So those are the other players. And then Bobby Rock on drums. I don't know if you're familiar with Bobby Rock, but he played with Vinnie Vincent for Vinnie Vincent Invasion. That's when I discovered him. And then he's played with Slaughter and Nelson. Right now he's touring with Lita Ford. He's a monster drummer. And that it's another thing when you start a project, sort of the synchronized serendipity or manifestation or God's will, whatever you want to call it. That happened because my son was in Hollywood at the time, and I was saying, man, you know, you really want to look out for players that are very professional and are not falling into the pitfalls a lot of musicians fall into, you know, substance abuse, other things. And Bobby Rock is a great role model for that. So I kept bringing up the name Bobby Rock. Long story short, my son was invited to jam at with the guy that ran Third Encore Studios, which is a studio where a lot of national touring acts go for a few months and rehearse for their tours. And he accidentally got the Bobby Ferrari, the producer name, mixed up with Bobby Rock, because I'd been talking a lot about Bobby Rock. And the drummer friend that he was playing with said, well, Bobby Rock's in the building right now. Let me go get him. I didn't know he produced records. And so they figured out it was the wrong person, but they called me at like midnight. And of course, when a kid calls at midnight, you answer to make sure everything's okay. And he had so much excitement in his voice, but also confusion, because he's like, hey, aren't you doing a record with Bobby Rock? And I'm like, I wish, but I'm working with Bobby Ferrari. And he's like, oh, because Bobby Rock's here right now. Do you want to talk to him? I'm like, sure. So I talked to Bobby, and I just asked him, do you ever do session work? Because I'm working on this project and blah, blah, blah. And he said to send him demos. And I did. And I kid you not, he jogs. If you follow Bobby Rock, he's always running at before or after sound check or whatever. On the road, he's always out there running and working out. So he put the demos that I sent him in his headphones and listened to them for about 3 weeks, and reached out and said, hey, these songs are timeless. I'd love to be a part of this project. So we got him out to Vegas, and he nailed, I had 15 songs, 13 are on the record, but he knocked them all out in 3 days, which is, Bobby Ferrari was even nervous. Like, is Bobby Rock a good session player? And he's a great live player, but he nailed it. And in fact, most of them, I think he's really proud of it too, because most of the tracks are single take, just performances. It's pretty awesome. So I'm just as excited with him. And then I've got Terry Nails on bass, who played bass throughout Ozzy's No More Tears album, and several other ghost appearances on bands that, again, kind of behind the scenes, that the people in the industry know, but I can't necessarily say. So Terry Nails, he's a heck of an amazing person, and his story, everybody's story is pretty fabulous. So I think it's worth checking, everybody's history out.
Yeah, it's just really fascinating how you've managed to bring all these pieces together for such a collaboration. All these professionals, you've everyone's got their own schedules. They're coming in from interstate, like it's just a really amazing story to me. So, but this, just from what you were saying in regards to the songs, some of the songs you wrote in like 84, you said 1984.
Yeah.
So I mean, that means you were right in it, like in that era. So you know what I'm saying. So it's fresh. It's sort of like not fresh, but it's like the drummer said, it's timeless. So you'll have that also an authentic feel to it, which it does, which I've heard. But that's why I'm looking forward to the whole album. But tell us more about these songs that you wrote. Like, what's
so cool,
from
because
40 years ago.
I love a lot of the new bands out there, and several of the rock bands are reaching back to that 80s vibe. I wrote these songs during that, like you said, so it's like I come from that. So it's kind of a fresh new album written by somebody that was there at the time that people are trying to capture that sound. And I love lead guitar so much. So of course every song has lead guitar throughout, because that's what I love. So in the 90s, that pretty much went away, the lead guitar players and stuff. So it's neat to have sort of a fresh view. And then what guys like Christian, he's probably maybe even younger than you. So you have fresh players, and Gavin Patrick on there, that brings a new vibe. So and Bobby Ferrari as a producer, it doesn't sound like everything else. It's like it definitely has roots from the 70s and 80s, but it sounds as current as today without compromising anything.
Look, I'm really excited. So when is the release date, and will you be touring? for this album,
Yeah, I
or
would
is it just the
love to.
project only?
You know, first I'd have to actually get a band together, and I'm hoping, honestly, by putting this project out or this record out, I hope that attracts some people that want to perform live. You know, you never know. I would be open to that, even if it was just hopping on a cruise where a lot of these players are already on a rock cruise or something, and we get to do a set. You know, that would be a dream come true. But right now it's really about getting like music out there, and my other passion is putting together videos that kind of tell a story. So to tie it all together, Another Day is going to be the opening song on the record. I wrote that in '84, the same time the Goonies movie was being filmed. Are you familiar with the Goonies? It's a
Yes.
little okay. um, and my mom lives in Astoria, where the movie was shot, a lot of the live action scenes. So I decided I got to do a video to go along with Another Day. That wasn't written anything to do with the movie. It had nothing to do with that, except that the full circle moment is the Goonies had a day to save their house, and the song's called Another Day. So there's a tie-in, right? But it's also an 80s song in an 80s movie. So I was looking at the film locations, and I discovered that there's actually a legitimate Goonies motorcycle club. It's a bunch of Harley riding Goonies fans that came together from their time in the military, and they bonded over the Goonies movie. So they have their own, everyone's got their stories to tell, right? But I reached out to Eddie to say, hey, this is what I'm doing, and I've got a bunch of bikers that are going to be in this video. You know, Twisted Sister had the motorcycle vest with their Twisted Sister cuts on the back. Would you be a part of this? Would you want to do this? And he did. So it's really cool to have Eddie on a song that was written in the 80s, and then have a music video that's kind of tied to the 80s. And that's just the way this whole project has kind of unfolded, really. It just kind of all ties back together.
Mm. You're definitely living the dream, I have to say. Would you have to? It's just, it seems surreal. Like this is all sort of falling into place in the right ways for you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I'm meeting people like you, and when I do video shoots, I'm meeting so many great people in different communities. And that's kind of become my mission, is to bring people together. Like, if you want to change the world, start within your community. And that's what I'm doing. So it's my own little, I guess, way to do good.
Yeah. So you said that you actually I was gonna ask you, what is your guitar rig, like what's your setup, your amp setup and all that, like for the album. But can you give us any information? Like obviously Kulick uses ESP, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What else can you tell us?
He sent some photos. He's going to send some more, as well as Christian and everyone else. So I asked for a full gear list, so I could post different pictures and stuff for gearheads and how they mic their rig. And so I'll be sharing a lot of that information.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely ESP has been used with Bruce. He probably used a few other guitars as well. And as a Kulick fan, I mean, I really want to share this to all the fans of the musicians on the record. Whether you've ever heard of me or not, it's worth exploring like new music from these guys, because they all brought their A game. And I mean, they really did. It's like, this is some of the best solos I've ever heard Bruce play. And of course I'm biased, but Bruce would never do anything less. If he's going to be a part of a project, he's going to bring his professionalism to it. And that's what he did. And Eddie, I mean, they didn't just phone it in like, oh, here, let me just noodle a couple notes for you real quick. They wrote some meaningful solos. So I will be sharing. I don't know all of the details on the rig and the gear that they use, but I'll be sharing that.
Exciting. But everyone, look, this music is amazing. It's like a throwback to the 80s. This actual stuff written in the 80s and only being released now by legendary 80s guitarists and other modern guitarists, which are also just as amazing for this collaborative effort. Also, Bobby Rock on drums, which is, that Kiss connection kind of, through Vincent. But I got to hand it to you. I'm really fascinated with your story, and also again the hustle, like your determination to really make your dreams come true in this matter. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it. And
Yeah,
this is awesome.
yeah,
I hope to come to Australia and meet you out there.
yeah, definitely. I'm in Sydney, so yeah, just hit me up. Let me know. We'll just if ever happens, and yeah, we'll catch a gig or something.
There you go. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So just I've got a couple of sort of Kiss related questions.
Okay.
Okay, because you're a fan, obviously, and so am I. All right, you probably maybe it's a bit controversial. Okay, who's your favorite Kiss guitarist?
Woo! Well, it's so funny because I kind of classify Kiss in three different eras. There's 70s Kiss, there's 80s Kiss, which kind of gets into the early 90s, and then there's the legacy Kiss, like when they reunited to Tommy and Eric. I love Tommy Thayer in his off Kiss music better than his Kiss music. Tommy's a great player, and I love Black and Blue. If you're familiar with Black and Blue, Gene Simmons actually produced a couple of their records, and that's how he became part of the Kiss camp and ultimately in the band. Ace Frehley, without a doubt, has that. Just, I mean, he was Space Ace, but some of his solos are just maybe really simple, but so effective, like really cool sonically. But I'd have to give it to Bruce, to be honest. I think, and I know he's on the record and everything, but I had Bruce on my Peachy folder in high school, pictures of Bruce Kulick. He kind of actually almost made me stop playing guitar because I got his Hot Licks VHS cassette, and God, it was expensive back, like $30 or something. And he was so fast, and if you know his work on like Crazy Nights and stuff, it was way beyond my ability, and I thought I'm never going to get this good, so I almost just gave it up because of him. But I've always just enjoyed his solos. They're still they're very musical, but they've got that fiery 80s vibe too. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, Creatures of the Night is my favorite song, but I mean, my favorite version is the Kiss Alive 3 version with Bruce on it. So that's what drew me towards, this is better than, look, the original's great, but obviously it's better than the solo on the original, right? Because it's a bit more flair to it. But look, I love Bruce, and probably my second favorite song is Kiss Forever.
Oh,
No joke.
okay. Great.
No joke.
Yeah, he knows you have to play that in the Kiss Forever DVD, of course, because that's called.
It's funny you mentioned that, because that's actually literally probably my second favorite Kiss song. I mean, I'm talking about more emotionally, but if you're talking about, the riffs, Detroit Rock City, or all the classic stuff, Juice and all that, like, you got to hand it to Ace. I mean, like, I love those songs. Like, it's on a different level, but emotionally, like, from when I started playing guitar, those two songs are like, oh yeah, that I've connected with a lot. And also, like, didn't Michael Bolton like co-write that song as well?
So, and that's part of the fun. I didn't know, like in the 80s, it was like, if you didn't like Kiss, I don't like you type of attitude that I had. And then it evolved because they actually would encourage people, hey, if you like our music, look at where the artists that we grew up listening to, like the Stooges and Mott the Hoople. I would have never heard of those bands, I don't think, if it wasn't for Kiss. And Bruce, the same thing. So early, before Kiss's career, he toured on the Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell tour, which is amazing because that's like the biggest album Meatloaf ever put out, and Bruce is his live guitar player. That's pretty awesome. And then he played with Billy Squier in the early days, but then also Michael Bolton in a band called Blackjack. And they were signed, I think like in 78 or 79. And if they would have hit, they were kind of like Foreigner and Bad Company, sort of a combination of the both. They have really good songs. Michael Bolton sings like rock, not the Bolton that we're used to.
Cheesy Bolton.
Right.
Not that.
But
not
if that took off, Bruce would have never been in Kiss. And I'd probably still not know who Bruce Kulick was. But yeah, so Bruce.
But also, wasn't it Bolton's first debut album was with Bruce? He played all the guitars on it, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure. Was that his debut album, or was it?
I have to ask him. I honestly don't know. I should know that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was either his debut album or his second. I can't recall off the top of my head. Bruce did all the guitars and co-wrote like most of the songs, I believe.
Yeah,
and it's a killer album. Like it's that it's that glossy '80s hard rock sort of slash metal sound with Michael Bolton's belting out his vocals like he can, he can. So yeah, it's really good.
So you had you have more controversial questions.
Last one.
Okay.
Who's your favorite Kiss drummer?
Ooh, man. Without a doubt, like Kiss wouldn't have had the sound without Peter Criss. And I love Eric Singer's powerful drumming, but Eric Carr is, and it probably has something to do. The first time I saw Kiss was on their Animalized tour. Bruce was the unknown replacement for Mark St. John. But those are the guys that I saw live first. That might have something to do with it. Eric's drum sound on Creatures of the Night is amazing. In fact, I have a song called Action Cures Fear, and I would challenge anyone to imagine that on Creatures of the Night. The drum sound and the heavy guitars would fit perfect on that album. But Eric Carr, and talking about like just hustling and manifesting, when we were doing the Kiss Forever project, we were introduced to Eric's sister, and Loretta, and she was a sweetheart, and she was working on Eric's Unfinished Business album, and she asked if we wanted to be a part of it. So Tony Williams, who's on this record, we were part of helping and bringing the artists together who perform on the song Shandy, and it just came out on box set. So, and Shandy's kind of important. It was a big hit in Australia, but it also, Eric, if I'm not mistaken, he sang to a tape cassette of Shandy in the bathroom to send it as part of the audition tape for Kiss. So it's not the best recording or anything, but we got to isolate his vocals and play music, and we're on the his Kiss the Eric Carr Unfinished Business album and CD on the song Shandy. So we actually got to play on a song with Eric Carr, and it's just, that's how the universe works, right? You don't know what's coming your way until you actually kind of take a few steps forward and things start to present themselves.
Yeah, that's another addition to this amazing story, that that Eric Carr connection. But no doubt his drumming was also powerful. I mean, Singer was a seamless transition, and he's a legend and he's their drummer ever since, wasn't he? So
Yeah,
and
in
yeah,
'89 when they came out on their this is like a Kiss interview, right? When they came out on the Hot in the Shade tour, he had been practicing with electronic drums in his drum solo, but on that one, he hit these low basses, so he had electronic drum kits to play bass lines. So while he's playing his drum solo, he's also playing a bass line. And it is, I don't know what, sub 7 or sub 55 or whatever, but it was so low, and I was next to the speaker that my right ear still hurts when I hear really low tones because of Eric Carr. So I guess that's a well-deserved war wound from being a rock fan.
yes, but but then Singer, like, because he's obviously on Kiss Alive 3, and I rate him very highly as
Yeah,
well. Technically, he's just flawless, but Eric Carr had that he just had a sort of just his whole look about him and his whole attitude. Like, he had a great attitude. He was a really nice guy from what I've seen, like, in interviews and stuff. But
yeah,
but his playing was just, and like you said, that drum sound on Creatures of the Night, it's just like, wow, it's just like so much impact. Hey, it wasn't full of reverb. It was just like, it was heavy.
yeah. People like John Bonham need to listen to Creatures just for the drums, because it's something else. And we actually, ironically enough, we can't do anything with it, but Loretta sent us all of the isolated drums from the session of Creatures of the Night. So if they had to like cut in a snare or a cymbal, so every little, it's just boom. But so we have each thing, we have this whole drum kit, which I wish that, now that I mentioned that, if there's a Kiss fan out there, they're, oh, we want it. I really wish somehow we could permission to use that drum sound for, a track that, maybe Bruce could get the authorization or something, and have Eric play on another song. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be sweet. Yeah, so this whole conversation's turned into two Kiss fanboys. But this is about Patrick McCormick and his band. This collaborative effort project. Legends are playing on this project called Saints Crossing. So everyone, please check them out. They got 4 singles currently on Spotify. They're great. It's like a hard rock blues. Authentic songs actually written from the 80s being released now with 80s legends such as Bruce Kulick and Eddie Ojeda. Ojeda. Sorry. But look, thank you for your time, Patrick. I really appreciate it. Look, where's the release date again? Have you got a release date for
I
the
don't
album?
have a release date yet. I'm actually, I just had a record company reach out that might want to distribute this. So I may have to hold on. I'll have physical copies soon, and I'm going to put a post out on Saints Crossing. So like the first 50 people I'll send a CD to, in exchange for asking for a review, because I want to know what people think. And then hopefully, depending on what happens there, I would imagine in the next couple months it'll come out. I have another single with Bruce Kulick on. It'll be the second single with Bruce on lead guitar, coming out on the 19th. And it's one of his favorites that he played on. And a little sneak preview on the end of that song, he kind of channeled Dickie Betts. So if you're an Allman Brothers fan or another lead guitar, I had to call him right away. Did you channel a little Dickie Betts there? Because I'm hearing this. And he said, yep. So that was really cool, again, to hear influences of, your like idols, and where they came from, and to hear that in their playing is pretty cool. So yeah, anyway, thank you. I can ramble and ramble, so thank you.
No, look, thanks for your time. That's all I got for you today. But look, we'll catch up again. But for everyone, you know, this is just an example of making your dreams come true if you work hard, have the right attitude, you know, and your passion. Like you gotta love what you do, and that's it. This is a perfect example of that, Patrick. So thank you for your story. It's amazing, and it's not the end. It's this album's coming out, and then we'll see definitely see what happens after that. But this is really exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, thank you, Ed. It's so nice to meet you, and thanks for this is my first interview. My palms are a little sweaty, but that means I'm alive.
You did well.
Hey,
We did well.
yeah,
I really enjoyed the Kiss chat as well. So thank you so much.
right on. Thank you, Ed. Take care.
Okay, we'll talk soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.